Hi everybody, welcome back to For Real. And if you're new here, welcome to For Real. It's good to have you here. We've had quite a few new subscribers come on board lately, so I just wanted to take a minute to say thanks for signing up, and we hope that you're enjoying the content and you keep watching. Let's get started. So first up is an update with the COVID numbers for Cambodia. So Cambodia's just passed the 26,000 mark, and today we're seeing 568 new cases. That's a bit up on what it has been. There was a drop in case numbers, and we saw for nearly a week numbers of around 400 or just below. So it looks like they're creeping up a little bit, and that might be due to travel that people have been doing since restrictions and border closures in Phnom Penh opened up. There have currently been 183 deaths directly attributed to COVID in Cambodia. The Cambodian government had said that it plans to vaccinate 10 million people as part of the vaccination rollout, and they've passed about 23% of that. So they've vaccinated 2.25 million, I think. So they're going really strong with that. And an earlier news report said that they're looking at about 50% of all of those being done by late 2021. If they keep going at the rate that they're going, they will hit that no problem at all. They hope to have everybody in Phnom Penh receive at least the first vaccination by the end of June, and we're hoping that in that time they'll also start rolling out vaccines to other provinces too, so that people who are not in the capital can start to access that. In more good news, the government is providing further cash relief to people that are facing difficulties as a direct result of COVID, so people that have had impacts on their livelihood and families who have had somebody infected with COVID or somebody who's died from COVID are going to be given cash transfer payments. So that's really good news for those people. And that's in addition to the households that were already identified under the ID Poor scheme that's been administered for getting on for a year now. It's just really good to see that even in a developing country like Cambodia, there's still some kind of social security coming through for those that are in most need. The government's also just announced that it's going to recruit over 4,000 additional healthcare workers before the end of the year. So I think they'll be taken up with tasks like giving vaccinations, doing tests, administering records and all that kind of thing. So frontline healthcare workers, but not necessarily highly skilled medical workers. Okay, next up we've got a bit of a disturbing story. The headline is COVID-19 patient murders military officer before fleeing Ponhea Krek District Referral Hospital. So this has taken place in one of the provinces that borders Vietnam, and it says a 19-year-old COVID-19 positive man beat a military guard to his death and fled from the hospital on the evening of May 25, 2021. It says later in the article that the suspect was 38 years old and not 19, so I'm not sure what the correct age of the guy was. But it says, according to the source, the suspect used a stick and a hoe to hit the head of the victim, who was sitting alone at the time of the incident while the other guards were dining. Jeremy was saying he wonders if that guy was wanted for something else and didn't want to be, stuck in a place where he could easily be found by police. In some good news, there's been talk of schools reopening, so it says that the focus is going to be on health and safety principles in line with health measures to promote a new life path in the education sector. Students in all 25 provinces and the capital must continue to implement strict health measures and can learn online as well. It also went on to say in that article that 85% of 158,000 educators and teachers across Cambodia have already been vaccinated. So that's good news too. People in Phnom Penh are on notice that if the numbers of COVID continue to rise, they will be back under curfew and back under lockdown. So I guess they've been told they better do what they're told, make sure they wear their masks, keep their social distance, and not go out if it's not necessary. I feel a bit bad for all the people that are doing the right thing, which is probably most of the people, but then you get other people like those ones that were having drinking parties, like 35 people sitting around and just blatantly disregarding all the rules that have been put in place. Just on that particular case, there's been an update, and 11 of those people are in court. 34 were fined after that illegal party. And in case you're wondering, they were fined 5 million real per person for going to that illegal drinking party. For those of you interested in a bit of Siem Reap news, Samakhi Market has been closed. And this is very recent news, we've only just seen that today. after a COVID-19 positive person was found. Just reading a bit further into that story, the woman that was positive at Samaki Market had been recently to Phnom Penh for a funeral and returned to Siem Reap by bus on the 10th of May. So that's a good 16 days since she got on the bus to Siem Reap that she's actually been tested positive at the market. So I guess she's had potentially contact with a lot of people, particularly because she's working in a market. She's not living in Siem Reap City, she lives out at Prasat Bakong. So I guess that's concerning for another group of people that live out there. I don't know if you've ever seen photographs of how the factory workers are transported from their kind of home areas to the factory. They basically just have a big truck with an open back on it, like a ute with a cage around it, and the people just stand up inside the cage and they're transported that way. So there could be anything between 20, 30, 40 people in the back of one of those trucks. And there's an article in the news that a lot of the drivers who take those people to the factories have tested positive for COVID. And these particular drivers that have been found positive for COVID are working in Bavat City, which is on the border with Vietnam. And if you've ever caught the bus between Ho Chi Minh and Phnom Penh, you'll pass through that city because that's where the border is. Oh my goodness, I think we're nearly at the end of the COVID news. All right, so 3 private hospitals in Phnom Penh have been selected to be allowed to treat patients for COVID-19. That article is a little scant on detail, but there's a photograph of a price list, and the prices on that list range from $250 to $1,200. Those are the different room kind of selections that you have, but I don't know whether that's per stay, per night, what it is. Anyhow, that's an option now to be treated in a private hospital if you have COVID and you are located in Phnom Penh. Okay, moving on a little bit closer to home in Kampot province now. In Kampong Trak district, police arrested a couple and they are rice wine producers. And this is similar to the story that was in last week's news. This time 9 villagers died and it's the same thing, suspected methanol-laced wine. In addition to the 9 that died, another 30 were hospitalised. It's a little bit hard to determine the intent of the article because the first paragraph says it's methanol-laced, which implies that they've put the methanol in there deliberately. But then a little bit further down it says tainted rice wine, and that kind of implies that it's in there accidentally more so than with malicious intent. So I'm not really sure which one is the truth. If you have any thoughts on that, leave a comment down below. I'd be interested to hear. Next story is one of those only in Cambodia kind of moments, and the headline is Duo nabbed for $200,000 bag snatching theft. 2 men have been arrested for robbing a Chinese businessman of his $200,000. You must be really keen for some details, so what do we know? At around 3:30 p.m. last Tuesday, a Chinese man walked out from a local bank carrying a bag. It was in front of the Pencil Market in Phnom Penh. While the victim was walking on the street, the 2 accused men drove a luxury motorbike, stopped in front of him and snatched his bag that was containing more than $200,000. After robbing the victim, they managed to flee by riding the motorbike. About 24 hours later, they were arrested, and the police identified them through CCTV footage of a shop near the robbery site. After their arrest, police seized 2 luxury motorbikes, I don't know where the second one came from, and an undisclosed amount of stolen money from them. I wonder how much of the $200,000 was remaining at that stage. On to some percentages, because we all like those. The Thailand-Cambodia highway is now 70% complete, and the new airport in Phnom Penh is at 40% complete. So far, they've built the terminal hall, the airfield, and the control centre. Now, if you know anything about airports, this one's going to be a 4F class, which means that it will be big enough to accept any kind of aircraft. Apparently they're also building roads and flyovers and things to connect it with the centre of this city a bit more easily as well. In another piece of regional news, drug bust nets 11 arrests in Mondulkiri. The interesting thing about these stories is often the photographs that accompany them. So this one, you can see all the stuff laid out that they've seized, but it was a total of 16 small packages of crystal meth, 10 phones, 9 motorbikes, 2 samurai swords, and drug paraphernalia. These people always seem to have at least one samurai sword. I don't get it. I think what I'm going to do is put a list of all of the links to these news articles in the comments section. So if you want to actually check them out for yourself and see the pictures that go with them or read a little bit more, you can. Just let me know whether you think that's a good idea, and I'll do that every time from now on if you think that's going to be helpful. In keeping with the theme of drugs, thousands of marijuana seedlings grown illegally by unscrupulous people on the mountain at Takeo Province's Kirivong district were destroyed by authorities on Saturday. Police also found 6 water tanks strategically located at the mountain to help cultivate their illegal crop. Very, very unscrupulous. Next headline, lockdown malaise drives people seeking respite to coastal provinces. Not much of an article, not much evidence. It really just interviews one kind of hotel owner in Cap, and that person says that yes, they've had an increase in people staying recently. So anecdotally, I guess we know that to be true. Living in Kampot, we certainly see all of the Phnom Penh number plates on the cars when we go around on the weekend, so I guess it is true. All right, we're up to our last story for today's news report, and we're in another province again. We're in Kampong Spiu this time. And the governor of Kampong Spiu has ordered the immediate removal of billboards that advertise beer products during the current ban on selling alcohol. Further to that, he wants all of the billboards that are removed to be replaced with other billboards that have healthy messages for the public. Perhaps the strangest part of the story is what the governor says about people's perception of people who live in Kampong Spiu. He said, "The people of Kampong Spiu are not as lazy as they say." He goes on to say that people shouldn't call them lazy, they shouldn't call them stupid, and they shouldn't call them ankle bumps. I didn't realise that ankle bump was a bit of a put down or a bit of a kind of way of calling someone stupid here in Cambodia. So you call someone an ankle bump, you're really, really getting nasty. Additionally, the people of Kampong Spiu are not drunkards, he said. Good to know. And that is it for today's news. I hope you've enjoyed listening, and I hope you've enjoyed watching the bike ride that we put with this. If you are one of the people that's only just subscribed, you might want to have a look at the links in our description. We've got lots of other channels that we follow, links to other people that are making content in Cambodia, and links to our social media, lots of other stuff. So check that out if you're interested. Yeah, give this video a like and stick around for our next one that will be on the weekend, I think. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one.